Again, feel free to enter them in the chat at any time. It's just after 3:30, so I'm going to move us into our final section, next steps and wrap up. And I really appreciate everyone who has hung in there with us all day long. I know doing an all-day virtual training is not an easy task, so I really appreciate you sticking with us to the bitter end. So most of you, there were only a few of you that had multiple partners from your project on this particular virtual boot camp. So this is my list of general recommendations for next steps for you. Take what you've learned today and share it with others on your team, other partners, other planning committee members, colleagues in your organization, because the more people that know what the full scope of tasks involved in creating this shared space, the better off you are, the more sustainable this project will be. We've hoped to have answered as many of your questions as possible throughout today. But in the next 24 to 48 hours, as those questions continue percolating through your brain, write them down and try to figure out who can answer them. Most of the questions you'll have will be for other partners and other people in your community. You might be looking for specific expertise or advice. Laura and I are also happy to answer questions about shared space models or connect you with other organizations that are doing similar things, either in your region or similar theme centers. Also, if you haven't already done one, please plan to do a needs assessment. There is a giant myth out there that if you build it, they will come. And some of our members, there aren't very many nonprofit centers that fail, but those that didn't do their homework first. They weren't prepared. They either overbuilt space or underestimated the amount of organizations that would be willing to use their space. So don't skip the needs assessment. Also, using what you've learned today, work on your project timeline. And there's a lot of templates in your worksheet packet. We didn't spend a ton of time on it today. We didn't make a lot of space, but working through the worksheets one-on-one or with other partners in your collaborative will help you crystallize some of those ideas and be better prepared when you go see a broker or lender or a major donor. So if you have additional questions or want to focus on what your next step should be for your project, we have this remaining 25 minutes set aside. We can either, I think it worked fairly well to unmute people, so if you just want to raise your hand, I can unmute you and have you ask your question live on the panel. Or you can also email and follow up that way.
I'd love to hear people's next steps.
Yeah, so what do you think your immediate next step, your next priority is for moving forward with your project? Either share it in the group chat or raise that hand and we'll hear from you. Can be based on what you've heard today or a burning priority that has been in the back of your mind, something that needs to move forward. What is the next thing that you're going to do to move your project forward? How about let's hear from oh, hang on. All right, so Irene's next step is getting a credit-worthy leaseholder. Excellent, absolutely excellent. You've got to figure out which of your partners would be the best chance, your best chance to hold that master lease. Dominic, how about you? We haven't heard from you much today. What's your next step with your project? You can either raise that hand to be unmuted, or you can type it in the chat, whatever works best for you. So Dominic says they're going to work on a feasibility study. Excellent. It's so important to have that research, that due diligence. How about Jean? What are you working on? What's your next step? Oh, I've got a response chimed in from Ruth. Thank you. They're working on repurposing part of their existing center and beginning to think about a second property when the first is fully leased again. This latter project would next move to a needs assessment stage. Excellent. And I think that's really important, especially, so Ruth is in the Bay Area, and that's a really interesting real estate market, especially for nonprofit organizations. So Jean, maybe Jennifer, what's next for you all at Heartwood House? How about Jill or Julie? Yes, I am going in alphabetical order. So you all know who's next. Go ahead and enter your next step in the chat. At the rate that I'm calling on people, I'm sure we'll have like 5 different comments come in at once. This is one of the interesting challenges of a virtual training, whereas if we were in person, we could just popcorn around the room. How about Margaret? What is your next step at Lyda Hill? Mo, do you want to back Jennifer up about what's going on? Oh, hang on. We've got a comment in from Julie. We are planning to start construction on the Hill in early 2017. So Julie is working with the Sunflower Foundation in Topeka, Kansas, and we helped them with their feasibility study not a few years ago now. And they're working on a really exciting historic renovation of an old hospital on Menager Hill. So Jennifer with Heartwood House says that I've recently been hired to develop stronger connections between member agencies at Heartwood House. So I'm very interested in the tenant survey and tools to gather the current collaboration snapshot. That's excellent, Jennifer. We will make sure that you get a copy of the collaboration project report, because I think that will have a lot of pieces that will be particularly useful to you in your role. You've got to have, it's really important to have someone that helps catalyze that collaboration and is responsible for that component. So who else have we not heard from? Mel, what's next at Urban Space? What do you think the next step is that you're going to take now that you've heard everything that has been shared here at boot camp? What about Michael, Marion? Oh, here we go. Jean's come in. Oh, okay. So Jean is on the call in relation to the Howard County Nonprofit Center, another project we've worked with. And they're in the build-out phase, planning to open in January 2017. That's so exciting. For a lot of groups, build-out feels like you're in the final stretch. There's been so much planning, so many different pieces coming through. So congratulations on getting that far. So Michael has chimed in, and he's been working on socializing this concept with different stakeholders throughout Chicago. And so they're currently also in the feasibility section, feasibility planning, hoping to condo a portion of some buildings. Yeah, we'll definitely make sure that you get connected to I think possibly Alice Wagner would be the first person to start at the Tides Thoreau Center, with the Tides Thoreau Center in New York City, to learn more about what their experience has been. And I'll look through our records and see if there are other U.S. centers that have taken on that condo model. How about you, Mike Powers? What is your next step? I hope today has been enlightening. And if any of the other of you have decided on what that next step is and are waiting to add it to the chat, now is your time. So I really appreciate all of these comments, all of your participation throughout today. Oh, Mike. Yes, so Mike's next step will be to share with his colleagues and implement many of the things we talked about today. And that's fantastic. So if you have any final questions, don't hesitate to reach out to Lara or to I. Thank you so much for sticking with us throughout today. You have the booklet of slides, you have the workbook, and I'll be sending out an updated participant list after the fact. I'm also going to be sending out an evaluation. And if you've got 5 minutes, which you should because we're ending about 15 minutes early, please click on this link that I just sent out in the chat. This is our link to our evaluation for Virtual Bootcamp. As I said earlier this morning, this is the very first time that we have run our Nonprofit Centers Bootcamp in the virtual space. So we really are looking forward to your feedback. Let us know what worked, what you liked, what didn't, and what areas could be improved. We are always committed to this idea of evaluation and continual improvement. So thank you so much for spending today with us, and please stay in touch. If you aren't a member of the network, I hope you join. We'll also be sending out a membership discount after the fact. So again, our contact information is on the screen today. So thank you so much for your time.